There's plenty of information about how to lucid dream, but what about how to go lucid in this dream? How to wake up from all the mental stories that we tell about our life that causes us so much suffering? How to wake up from dreaming ourselves to be a character that's bound by the limitations and the story of the dream to realizing it's all a dream and that we're not just this character stuck in a dream world, but the dreaming consciousness itself. The other night, I had a lucid dream, and I was walking around this unfamiliar dream world that was a bit like a shopping center or something. And I was walking up to people and trying to get their attention. And it was like I wasn't even there to most of them. They were pretty unresponsive, and I couldn't seem to get their attention like to them I was a ghost or something. And I was bouncing between people, and I tried to touch this one person, and my hand went like into their shoulder, and they went to push me away quite aggressively, like they were a bit annoyed and a bit hostile or something. And so I thought, this place is a bit dark and weird, and I suddenly had the idea of meditating in the lucid dream because I heard someone talking about doing that and how apparently amazing it is. And I haven't actually ever done that before. But as this place I was in felt a little bit weird and hostile, I ended up taking off and flying, like you often can in a lucid dream, looking for a place that's brighter and more friendly. And I landed in this other town type place, again, unrecognizable, and began trying to get the attention of people in this place. And they were a lot more responsive and friendly seeming. And I asked this one guy, do you think this is all happening within my mind, within my consciousness, or do you believe this to be a separate world that we're both in? And he replied, I don't know. And I was like, oh. Then he asked, but why do you ask? And I said, because I just projected into this place. And he gave me a high five. And I turned around to this other guy and I was talking to him and I said, well, what do you call this world? For example, what do you call this country? And he said, England, which was a little strange because although that's my home country in this life, I've been living in Mexico for a few years. Anyway, I thought, if this is England, it must be like a parallel dimension version of England or something. And I woke up. And I'm not exactly sure why I told you that story, but it must somehow link into my explanation or pointing here. In our usual mainstream perception of dreams, we perceive dreams to be happening within our own mind, within our own consciousness. In fact, everything we see, hear, taste, smell, and touch is known to be our consciousness. And in a lucid dream, that fact seems pretty obvious. We have this instinctual feeling, it's all just a dream. I'm not really this dream character living this whole story happening to me, and this world isn't even real. It's a projection of consciousness. When we're asleep in the dream, we're listening to the dream narrative and our thoughts about it and believing it all to be real. We're watching the moving images and the sounds of the dream unfold and change and think that we're inside it and that it's happening to us, and we get emotionally pulled around by everything that happens as if it's 100% real. When we go lucid in the dream, we don't acquire some special new knowledge that it's all just a dream. We don't become enlightened or awake like we have some super special quality added onto us, and we didn't have to meditate for years in the dream to wake up to the fact that it's a dream. In fact, we can go lucid at any time completely spontaneously. And when we do, it's obvious that it's a dream. We might have deeper questions about the nature of the dream and the nature of this consciousness that we're seeing. Like when I was asking people in the dream, do you believe that this is a separate world outside of consciousness that we're inside? To get their beliefs and ideas about it. Or I may have been wondering about whether this is all truly contained within my mind, within my brain, or whether this lucid dream is actually my individual self accessing different dimensions in the larger field of consciousness. But it's all still clear that it's made out of mind, made out of consciousness. So how to go lucid in this dream? Well, exactly the same. We simply stop believing that we are just this dream character, just this body and mind. We simply stop listening to the thoughts and the whole narrative about what's apparently going on in our life and what this all apparently is, to see that it's all just simply consciousness appearing. Now, whether we call it consciousness, mind, matter, the dream, or simply what's appearing, it doesn't matter. We just have to be honest with ourselves that at the base level of reality, at the base level of our entire experience, there is just simply what's appearing. There is just simply sights, sounds, smells, sensations, feelings appearing to come from inside the body area, and they all arise in this space of consciousness, just like in dreams, and are made out of nothing but consciousness. In fact, it's consciousness appearing. We have to look past our brainwashing and conditioning that we are just meat sacks made of matter in a material world that's producing consciousness, and where this flicker of consciousness looking out of these eyes onto a separate world. We have to be really honest with ourselves and everyone else and say, all I experience for certain is what's appearing. And any ideas about what's appearing having a separate existence with an independent nature is a story. It may be a story that's been going on for a long time. It may be a story rooted in materialist science, and materialist science may seem to have been involved in all the discoveries and inventions that create our modern day world and modern day comforts. But just because a paradigm has worked for a while and allowed us to study and measure what's going on, it doesn't mean its fundamental assumptions are true. Yes, this dream appears to be more solid, more consistent. A gram of water always weighs a gram. There's gravity, the laws of physics, and it all seems to be consistent when we measure it over and over again. Whereas the apparent dream world seems more inconsistent. But what if this is just a more solid and consistent seeming dream? The fact that it's consistent doesn't imply a separate world out there with an independent nature. It could all just still be consciousness, the fundamental reality, and the laws of physics and the measurable consistency of the dream could simply be how consciousness operates with this dream. It could be that dreams, when we sleep, are consciousness experiencing other layers of consciousness that are more subtle, less consistent, and more responsive to intention. The dreamlike illusion may be easier to see through. But this dream could have been created by us consciousness to give us a seemingly more real experience, so that we can experience consistency, so that we can experience situations for an extended period of time without them changing, so that we can really enjoy them or really learn from them. You might mistake me to say that I'm saying this dream exists within our individual mind and that the world and everybody else is just a figment of our imagination. But that would be layering our current mainstream interpretation of dreams and consciousness over this suggestion to go lucid in this dream. It's not that it's happening in our individual mind and that others are just automatons without their own individual experience. It's that it's all happening as the one mind, and our individual experiences are fractals of that one mind experiencing itself. In this way, we create an even deeper basis for love and compassion because we recognize all of us to be expressions of this one consciousness, rather than separate entities that we can simply objectify and torture with no consequences. In this lucid dream, we realize that hurting others is really just hurting ourselves. If we attempt to hurt someone in a lucid dream, it immediately feels strange and confronting, like we've begun to harm ourselves. And in the truest sense, we really have, because it's all our consciousness. So rather this is all a dream suggestion being a call to say, this is all a dream, so nothing matters and you can just do what you like. It's more so, this is all a dream, so it's all us, it's all our consciousness. So let's look after the world like we would our own mind or consciousness. Let's realize that we're not separate from it, but are fundamentally expressions of it, intricately, seamlessly interconnected. In fact, inseparable from everything and everyone. And we can still do science and make technological progress. It's just that now we know that what we're studying is not a separate material world, but consciousness. We can still act as apparent individuals in a world with self-concepts and taking care of our body and mind because we know it to be the precious and wonderful medium through which we experience this dream. And we can have a basis for our ethics and morality that honors our fundamental interconnectedness and oneness. And although we may not be able to fly right now in this lucid dream or create things with our imagination that instantly appear in front of us, we can recognize that imagination does create reality in this lucid dream too, just in a different way. I mean, the Wright brothers imagined we could fly and eventually invented the plane. Everything you see around you was believed in until it was so. And by going lucid in the dream, we can be open to the possibility that just like when we go lucid in a dream, the rules of the dream may become more flexible. Now, it's not a call to jump off a building to see if you can fly, but it's a call to see that the glitches in the dream we call synchronicities are not just spooky coincidences, but increasing proof of this reality's dreamlike nature. It's a call to see that if we're creating a nightmare through wars and environmental destruction, it's because we've conceptualized it to be a material world that's out there and disconnected from us, and that in fact the resolution is to realize its consciousness and the world and other people are not separate identities or objects to be subjugated, but inseparable parts of ourselves. Now, maybe going lucid in this dream doesn't change everything instantly. Maybe this dream of consciousness is more solid seeming and takes longer to change in response to our beliefs and imagination. But what if we stay with it? What if we stay lucid in this dream? Oh, how do we know what would happen in this crazy dream? For one-on-one coaching inquiries, go to speaktoalex.com. Peace.